Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Sunday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early, man. You know it. It's 3:30 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. You know what? I almost overslept. It's actually 3:45 this morning. I almost overslept again this morning. It's 45 degrees here. What's today? June 4th? 45 degrees here in Connecticut. It was a cloudy, cool day yesterday. And you know when it's cold and you get comfy, and I see the clock. I woke up at 1:30 a.m. and it's like, oh, I got to get up in a half hour and do my YouTube video. And I'm all comfy in there. And I overslept by about 15 minutes this morning, so I'm running a little late. Okay, I hope you enjoy this video. I don't know how many views, I don't know how many people are going to be interested in this story. This is what I want to talk about this morning. It's a story about Ron DeSantis. You probably heard this story. And this is the first time I watched the video, and I have some thoughts on it. Look, the first thing I'm going to talk about, if I'm going to talk about Ron DeSantis played a huge part in my life, in my entire 57 years on this planet. He in my opinion, he played a pivotal role in a bad turn in my life. If you've already heard this, I apologize. Just bear with me, but I can't talk about Ron DeSantis without mentioning this. Before I get into it, what I'm going to talk about is a video where somebody in the audience, this just happened last week, where somebody in the audience called him a effing fascist. And his response to me was awfully fascist. I'll talk about that in a second. Like I said, I cannot talk about Ron DeSantis without bringing this up first. My ex-girlfriend, this is the girl I fell in love with in third grade. My very first girlfriend ever, Audrey. That's me right there. We went our separate. We were boyfriend and girlfriend through third grade till sixth grade. We went to the local amusement park together, Quassapug Amusement Park, when we were like in fifth grade. I bought her a little necklace, a gold necklace. It was a $6 necklace. I still remember. Like I love this girl so much. And we went our separate ways. She got married. We both ended up getting involved in alcohol. She got involved with alcohol. I got involved with drugs. We both ended up getting clean. We both ended up moving back to the same small town, and we ran into each other when we were in our late 40s, about 50 years old, and we found each other again. We moved in together, and we were looking at getting married eventually. We had our ins and outs. This was in 2016 to 2021. Okay, we were living together, and what should have happened is she moved in with me. I was looking for a new place, the place I used to live at, and we should have gotten a place of our own. I ended up renting a place, which was basically I looked at as mine. This is when we first started dating, and then she moved in with me. And looking back, we should have gotten a place that was all our own, because we ran into some problems. And she ended up getting her own apartment. Okay, and like I said, we got into some ins and outs. And 2021, she decided to move to Jacksonville, Florida, and she called me up. And I went to see her. She said, I'm moving to Jacksonville. And I said, I wanted to move to Florida too. And I said, well, I'm going to come down and see you and stay with you. And I still remember saying goodbye to her. This is in June of 2021. And she drove down to Jacksonville, Florida. Her parents lived in Daytona. And she texted me all the way down. She was driving down in her Lincoln Navigator, texting me the whole way. And within a day of getting there, she got sick. This was in June or July of 2021, and by August 5th, she was in the hospital in intensive care. She was put on a ventilator. She got COVID. And because she believed that she didn't believe in the shots. She believed she didn't have to wear a mask. She didn't believe in the shots or any of that. We talked about this before she left, and she died from pneumonia, COVID-related pneumonia, on August 5th, 2021. If you go back in this channel to that day, you will see me crying and crushed the day I found out she died. I actually talked about it in a video a little later that day. I got texts from her sister, who I was also close with, and her sister texted me about a week later. And she asked me, she said, Daryl, did Audrey ever have, what's it called, asthma? She says, because we're getting letters from the hospital and from the doctors saying that they think it was related to her asthma. I said, Audrey never had asthma. I knew her since third grade. She never had asthma one single day in her life. I remember going to the gym with her, and she would outrun me on the treadmill. You know, she was a fit, healthy woman through her entire life. That's her. This is her right there. Fit, healthy woman. Ron DeSantis' Florida tried to hide her death as being, you know, as listing it as asthma. Seriously. This happened to me. Within a day or two of getting to Florida, she got COVID, and then now, you know, he's running on this ballot, this thing that the way he handled Florida, the COVID in Florida, he wants, you know, the rest of America should have handled it this way. He seriously underplayed the amount of deaths in Florida. He hid it. He hid the amount of deaths. I'm sorry if you've already heard that before. Okay, let's get into this. Ron DeSantis, he's talking last week, and he's talking about there's whenever somebody's vague, he says there's some bad stuff coming in our school, some bad stuff, some pornography, and you know, and whenever somebody's vague, whenever he says, you know, starts warning and scaring people about bad stuff, you know, my antennas go up, my BS alert goes up, you know. Oh, it's bad, you know, it's bad stuff. That's bad stuff. You know, it sounds like bull. It sounds like fear mongering to me. And there'll be a link down below. Amanda Gorman, that poem, he called it all BS. He called it all BS because the Amanda Gorman's poem wasn't taken out. It was one parent who doesn't even read. She says she doesn't even read. And she complained about Amanda Gorman's poems, the poet laureate that did the poem at Joe Biden's inauguration, black woman. A beautiful poem, a beautiful woman. And because of this one woman who says she doesn't read, never read a book in her life, and also has all sorts of questionable stuff all over the internet, it's pulled from, it's moved into the middle school libraries. So he calls this, it's a big hoax by the left that he banned this book. But by the way, there's a link down below. Like 340 books have been banned in schools. So they are banning books. What's so bad about a book of poems? Amanda Gorman. Why would you take that out of an elementary school library? If a kid's interested in that and wants to read a book of poems, a book of beautiful poems, why shouldn't it be there for him? I don't know. Is it dangerous? Is that bad stuff? Unbelievable. So anyway, a woman in the audience goes, "You effing fascist," and he gets all. This guy has got a temper. Remember when he reprimanded the little kids wearing the masks? Tell them to take those masks off. You don't remember that? And then my girlfriend goes down to Florida not wearing a mask and ends up dead. You know, you can understand why I'm not a big fan of this guy. You know, so he gets all upset. He starts starts doing the chicken neck, and he starts yelling. He starts yelling at the woman, "These people, we're not going to let them put this stuff in our schools." And then he says something, and you know, the definition of fascist is, I believe it's like the one nation, one group of people over individual rights. It's a militaristic. It's a very military. It's more than a dictatorship. It's a dictatorship with a military edge to it. That's kind of how that's what I got from the definition. So, but he says something, and to me, this is awfully fascist. What he says, he says, he points to the lady that said this, and he says, "These are the people that we beat." He says beat, and when he says beat, the way he says beat, you know, I think he's saying he says we beat these people every day in the polls or in the elections, on the issues. We beat these people every day, and we're going to beat them. He makes it sound like he's going to eliminate any opposition, the other party. You know, the other party is, you know, it's not just about, you know, questioning if you want to go, you know, like democracy, this party or that party. But he's going to eliminate the other party. He's going to beat them every single time. To me, well, he's protecting him. You know, he's all angry because he was called a fascist. To me, that's an awfully fascist statement. You know, he points to the woman and it says, you know, these are the people we're going to eliminate. He doesn't say eliminate. That's my word. But he says, we're going to beat these people every single time until they're gone or eliminated. To me, he's defending himself not being a fascist by saying something fascist. All right, let's talk about this for a second, too. I want to mention one thing. I thought about adult material and in schools, and it brought back a memory. I'm going to talk about myself again, and I don't know how this plays into it, but this is what came to mind. Kids are going to come across this stuff. Back in my day, I lived at a state park. My father was a warden, the top guy, and back in the 70s, men would go look at their adult magazines, I guess, in the park, and then throw them out so their wives didn't find them. And I found a lot of adult magazines. When you were a young boy in the 70s, you come across these magazines. Now it's the internet. You can't tell me that a 10-year-old boy hasn't seen something on the internet, something adult, very adult. And they must have questions on this. And the reason I say that is I probably talked about this before. I remember one of the first times I saw adult material. It was in a shop where my father went to bring his truck. And he's talking to a guy, and I'm looking around, and there's a magazine laying open. And there's two women, and they're involved in a position that has, let's just say this adult position has a number. You know what I'm talking about, But, and I'm like a 10-year-old boy. 10-year-old boy, and I remember my face just flushing, the blood rushing to my face because I had never seen any of this before, and I was excited, I was like scared, and I don't know, it was just like this intense feeling, but I didn't know what I was seeing because it was viewed from the end. What I thought I was looking at like a contortionist. I thought I was looking at a woman bent over with her legs like going right up by her ears. It wasn't her legs. It was the other person's legs. But that's not what I honestly, I still remember this. I really thought, I was like, wow, does sex involve contortionists? Like circus where people bend themselves in half? This is what I really believe. I didn't understand what was happening in the picture. It's a simple thing like that. But as a 10-year-old boy, I was completely confused by this. Maybe it's not a bad thing because kids are going to see this. They're going. You can't tell me that these extremely intelligent kids that are more savvy on computers than most adults can't see this material, and they're not going to understand what they're seeing. They're going to get a skewed version of what love is and what sex is and relationships are. It's really, I don't have kids, but I think it's in the benefit. It really is in the benefit because kids aren't going to understand what they're seeing, and it's probably best if it's explained to them the basics, even that number, because I misunderstood that. I didn't know what was going on in that picture. It scared me a little bit. I didn't know if that's what I was looking at when I grew up, bending myself in half. Also, one other thing. We found magazines, me and my buddy. We were in Boy Scouts. We were, imagine me, a Cub Scout. I was a Cub Scout, Weeblo Boy Scout. And we're going through an old wood pile, and we find these magazines. And they're Playboys. And there's a cover of a Playboy, because it rained on these magazines and everything. But they had a really pretty, sexy woman from the 70s, Playboy magazine. Doesn't show much. And we each kept one. The cover of the magazine. I don't know why we did this. If a kid finds cigarettes, sometimes he keeps it. We kept the cover of the Playboy magazine. We each had one. And we brought them to school. Bad idea. We're in choral class, music class. And this is in middle school. And we just happened to be singing Jesus Christ Superstar in this class. And me and my buddy are sitting there, and we each have our Playboy cover in a folder on our desk we're sitting at. And I don't know if it was me, I can't remember now if it was me that opened it up and was showing somebody, or if it was him, or if it was both of us. But the choral director, the music director, got a view of this, and he just flipped out. It's like as if we were, demeaning Jesus Christ right there in the classroom. I still remember this. I remember feeling like dirty and evil, and and it was a pretty picture. It was a picture of an extremely beautiful blonde woman with nothing showing. It was the cover of a Playboy magazine from the 70s. But in this teacher's eyes, and in the eyes of the school, You know, we were terrible, terrible people, terrible children for doing this. You know, and it wasn't planned. We didn't mean to do this. We didn't intentionally bring it into this particular class, but the way things happen, that's where we got caught with this stuff. Sometimes, you know, I think education is a good thing. I think hiding topics from children can never be a good idea. I think kids understand a lot more than you give them credit for, and if they don't understand it, they should be talked to about it. Even it makes the point, the case to talk to them even more about it, because the way I didn't understand that position. You know, I think it's a good idea, even in elementary school. I don't have children, but I'm not talking about adult material. I'm just talking about life, the birds and the bees. Just a thought, because I was confused on a few things, and I did a few stupid things. All right, you guys, and you know what? F you, Ron DeSantis. Have a good Sunday.